And welcome to the Coach Paul Tortorella Show. This is Jack Benedict. We're going to talk IUP Crimson Hawks football. Off to a good start, 2-0 now with the victory over Millersville. And we'll talk about that game and then Lockhaven, which is the next game to come. Coach, last year we talked different times about getting off to slow starts in certain games. Well, this was totally different. I think, not even 2 minutes in, you had 2 touchdowns on the board. Fans didn't even have a chance to blink their eyes or sit in their seats, but that's a great start for you.
Well, I think we've really have worked hard on not only talking about getting off to great starts, but we've actually been instilling it in our practice schedules that, offensively, okay, this is the first series of the game. Same thing with defense. So we've made a emphasis on it in practice as best as you can. I think being at home Thursday night, right off the bat, the kids were pretty fired up. And, when you run back the opening kickoff to the 1 and score on the next play and then score on the first play of the next series, that's how you want to start a game. You can't think you're going to do that every week, but that obviously was what we were trying to get done.
Yeah. Let's talk about the opening kickoff. Quashak Carter, freshman that you have, this kid coming along. I know you had talked about him in spring ball and the impact that he had made. He becomes a real threat, doesn't he?
He's a definite threat with the ball in his hands. He's like the Don McNeil Jr. guy that just showed up and tried out, and he showed us a lot in the tryout with his speed and quickness. Great kid, walks around with a big smile on his face all the time. Loves to play football. Since he's been here, he hasn't missed a practice. He is a definite threat in the kickoff return game, and he's a pretty good wideout. He's just behind a couple other guys who are really good also.
I just mentioned before the kickoff that IUP hadn't had a kickoff for a touchdown or return since Pat Brewer in 2012, and he came that close. We were just hoping that he could make that last yard, but it was a great setup for you.
I mentioned this to the staff the next day. It was probably one of the best blocked kickoff returns I've ever seen. I mean, if you had to go through the whole 11 on the offense, on the kick return side, pretty much every guy got a plus, and that's hard to get on a kickoff return. I mean, there were some great blocks. Langdon had a great block. A bunch of other guys at the point of attack had great blocks, and then Carter did a good job on the return also.
You mentioned Don McNeil, and of course your second touchdown, Lenny hits him with a 60-yard pass play. Maybe describe that, because he was all by himself.
Well, I think in the film study we looked at the mismatch we had was Dom on their safety, and we felt like, especially early in the game, we were going to get one-on-one coverage there. So, Coach Gregory said, we'll probably take the shot the first play and go after the safety. We play actioned it, maximum protected it, and, it set up perfect. You couldn't draw it up any better. He ran right by the safety, and Lenny put it right there.
Yeah, Lenny with 3 more touchdowns. You had talked before, I think maybe it was one of your practices, about your wideouts and the size that you have with some of these guys, where you can go for the fade and you just feel that you have a corner overmatched. Miles Williamson, 6'4", whatever, redshirt senior, finally gets a touchdown.
Right.
That was so great to see. It was a great play.
I think we need to use him more in the red zone. We talked about that in the offseason. Miles Williamson kills our defense in practice and in scrimmages with fades in the red zone. So we have talked about, using him more in the red zone. If we get one-on-one coverage, Thursday night they had a 5'9" corner on him. And actually he played it pretty good. But it's 6'4" against 5'9". Lenny put it perfect. They had a safety come over late to try to help it, where Lenny put the ball, the safety couldn't help. But I equate it to like a jump ball in basketball. If a guy 6'4" is in a jump ball with a guy 5'9", he's going to win the jump ball every time. And a 50-50 ball now becomes like an 80-20 ball when you got 6'4" against 5'9". And we did the same thing with JoJo. And their guy played good on that play too. I mean, it was great coverage, but JoJo was just bigger and stronger and got the ball. Another great catch. Lenny put it right where he had to put it, but you had 2 guys that really had pretty good coverage. but just it was a mismatch, and it worked in our favor.
I was going to bring that up about JoJo because I think I saw a replica in the Steelers-Browns game with Josh Gordon. It was the same type of situation.
Right.
And the catch, fabulous catch.
Right, and that one, coverage was pretty good too. That's the thing that if you put those corners in the red zone on a one-on-one island out there, they actually can do a pretty good job in coverage, but it's still a tough play to stop if the receiver's bigger than the corner is.
It's good to see that you had the running game going with Samir Bullock. He had 94 yards, and when you can see the difference when he's healthy. Well, he can cause problems for the defense.
Yes, he's got the explosiveness that when he gets the ball, it's like he's shot out of a cannon. He runs low to the ground because he's not real tall. If he gets into the secondary, he can make people miss. We've just got to, later in the year last year, he was banged up a little bit, and earlier this year. If we can get him 100% with Evans and then Temple, and then we brought Bullock in the second half, and he did a nice job with the second team offense, running the ball, not turning it over, had a couple good runs for first downs. We feel really good about the different backs we can put out there.
Yeah, you had mentioned, I think, on your post game that it's tough for a running back like that. Maybe we don't understand when you have a big lead. But boy, he gave you some good old-time yardage there. Bullock did.
Right, because you're running against stacked fronts. I mean, they're losing big. They know we're going to run it, so they're just going to play the run. So they get a bunch of guys in the box, and usually in that situation, the running back either has to run through a tackle or make a guy miss because we can't block them all.
Tort, you got a chance with a big lead at halftime to play guys that maybe play a little bit but not a whole lot. I want to bring up a linebacker, Zach Weaver from Hollidaysburg.
Right.
You talk about people, I don't know if he misses a practice. I see him there all the time. He's an undersized linebacker, but he is seeing more and more action. Tell us about him.
Great program player, loves IUP, great teammate. In all the years he's been here, I really don't remember him missing a practice. He'll go down and help on the scout team with the defense, the scout team defense, but it's still smart enough to know what we're doing on our defense, so that when we get into second halves with a big lead, we're very comfortable putting him in the game. He's very active, made a lot of tackles, but it's just a great kid for the program, great student. He's going to be a state policeman. Okay. Crim major, he's as good as it gets with all the attributes and intangibles that he brings to the team.
Yeah, I think he deserved a mention. So,
I'm glad you did.
Well, he's always out there. I see him all the time. You're getting some great play from people that you expect, like J.R. Stevens.
Correct.
I got again 2 interceptions for it. The 80-yard, what turned out to be an 80-yard interception return for a touchdown. Maybe describe that play, because I'm seeing it here. It's like a volleyball type thing almost. And of course, once he hit the 50-yard line, he was gone.
Well, they threw the ball into a roll corner, which was him, on a flat route. So, they didn't have a very good play called for the defense we were in. The key to it was Tillman at the line of scrimmage tipped the ball. So it was partially tipped. Then JR got his hands on it and actually tipped it to himself. And we tell our defensive players, when you get the ball in your hands, we're thinking score, because offensive guys don't tackle. They're not tackle. The receivers usually aren't involved in the tackle because they're down the field. And offensive linemen are probably not going to tackle a skilled guy. So the guys that we talk about who only have a chance really to tackle, our defender is the quarterback and the running back. And they were 25 yards away from JR when he caught the ball. And he's got good speed, and once he got clear on the sideline, it was all the way.
That was it, yeah. Another great performance by Nico Ruiz. He's got to be leading the league in punting, 5 kicks, 47 yards. I mean, it's a great weapon, isn't it?
Absolutely. The first 2 games, we've won the field position battle by and large through his punting, our kickoff coverage, and our kickoff return team. And you factor those 3 phases in, and we're doing a good job catching punts on our punt return, not giving up yards with the ball bouncing. We've really handled the field position very well the first 2 games.
Yeah. Well, coming up, it's Lockhaven next. Haven't played them for a while now,
Right.
and they were in a game with Clarion. It was tight for a while after they had played Duquesne the first week. I looked on their schedule. They're playing Texas A&M Commerce.
Right.
Wow. Well, anyway, let's deal with this week. What do you know about Lockhaven? I know their first-string quarterback was injured last year.
Right. I think what you're going to get from them is at home they're going to play hard. The kind of kids they have are really hard-nosed. They will play physical. They will take some chances, especially on defense with blitzing and so forth. And they'll give you their best shot. As we say every week, teams are gunning for us. They had a couple really big wins last year, beating Bloomsburg for the first time in a while. They seemed to turn the corner a little bit last year. Tough game in the opener against Duquesne. Were really outmatched personnel-wise. Had problems against Clarion turning the ball over. If they don't turn the ball over, they've got a chance to win that game because they did create some turnovers on defense. So, we've got to go there and play a sound game, a clean game, play hard, be smart, play with discipline, worry about how we perform and how we prepare, and hopefully, we'll get the third win.
Yeah. When you have a blowout the way you did against Millersville, you always hope you don't have a lot of injuries. What is the injury early here in the week?
Well, we think right now one of the backup linebackers, Brian Williams, will probably be out. We should get Brandon Myers back. So we kind of trade off there at linebacker. We got a couple guys bumps and bruises. Joe Peterson will be out again this week. So we should be fairly, on the injury list, we should be okay. I think the only guy we really lost, and Dante Terry dislocated his shoulder, young safety that we have that's been playing really well. Came in the game on Thursday and did real well, and late in the game made a tackle and got his shoulder out, and they put it back in, but he'll be out for a week or two. So that's where it sits right now. I think when you get in games where you get a big lead at halftime, it gives you the opportunity to get your starters out. Like I was saying after the game Thursday night, if you play a 4-month season like we hope we play, it's a lot to ask your starters to play 70 plays a game every week. It's a long season. So when we can get a game where we only have to play our starters 35, 40 plays, it should benefit us down the road.
Well, it was an opportunity to rest Lenny. And Javon Davis came in. How about an evaluation on him? I mean, I've seen him a lot in practices every day, but the people haven't seen him yet.
He did a great job. I know statistically it won't show that. Just missed on a seam route with Ryan Hoff. He just overthrew him a bit. Then on the fade throw to Ryan, he what we call dropped a dime there. It was pretty good coverage. It would have been a tough catch, but Ryan probably should have made it. And then the play that was out of sight is when he avoided the rush and pirouetted out. They had an unblocked defender coming off the edge. He just made a miss, scrambled, got outside, threw the ball going to his left on a dime for about 25 yards on their sideline, and Walls made a great catch. It was great coverage. They ruled him out of bounds, but he was in bounds. It was a sideline call because it was on their sideline. That's, we had guys jumping up, screaming and yelling, and I basically just tell them, that's what happens. Something like that happens on their sideline, and it's close, they're going to get the call. But it was a great catch by Walls. He did get both feet in. It was good coverage, but it was an unbelievable play by the quarterback. Javon did very well. We got to help him in protection a little bit in those situations. And, he's fine. We don't change our offense at all. He runs the offense. So we expect him to be able to go in there. And for his first shot, he did a really good job.
Yeah, it bodes well for the future. Finally, 3,514 in attendance. Many, and especially many of the students, stayed for the entire game. I thought it was a great opening, didn't you?
Oh, it was awesome. Like I said, you're out there in warm-ups, and there's not a lot of people in the stands. They're out in the parking lots, et cetera, et cetera. And so we go in, obviously, after our warm-up, and when we come out with about 4 minutes to go on the clock, we come out those doors, and the first thing you see is the stands, obviously, on the home side. And we come out those doors, and those stands were packed, and there was 2 or 3 deep around the fence all the way around, and it looked like the other side had a pretty good, it was almost full on the opposite side also. But we've drawn, since we've taken over here in the last year and a half, we've had great crowds every game, and we knew we'd have a really good crowd Thursday night instead of playing Saturday against the Penn State game. That's why
the weather
then the way it turned out on Saturday, you probably needed an ARC to play the game, so it was a good decision on our part. And Millersville was fine with it because they played the Thursday night before, and it gives them extra time for their next opponent. We got a little bit of rest this weekend because you're not going to get this type of weekend anymore. You've got 9 straight Saturdays you're going to play, so we took advantage of the time off over the weekend to get fresh and rest up for the next week and obviously the 8 after it.
Yeah. It's a noon kickoff at Lockhaven, short trip, so I'm sure we'll have pretty good representation there. Good luck in Game 3, Coach.
Appreciate it, Jack. Thanks.
Coach Tortorella, noon kickoff Saturday at Lockhaven, Game 3 coming up for the Crimson Hawks. That's our story for today. Good to have you with us, and we'll talk to you next time with the Coach Paul Tortorella Show.